Yo, what's up, everyone? I figured I'd do a Q&A because a lot of you guys ask me questions in my comment sections, and it's like, here's a nice area all in one place. So we're going to go through, answer your guys' questions as best as I can. And one thing, I know my face is bloated, guys. I had to do an antibiotic, okay? So do not think it's my diet, even though I probably have more milk than I should. But either way, it's interesting. I'm probably like around 15% body fat right now, yet my face looks like 20%, if not more, because of the antibiotic I had to take, which, man, antibiotics fucking suck, bro. I'm gonna rant about that for 1 second. Like, it destroys your progress of the last year of eating raw foods. Gone. But anyway, enough yapping. Just want to let you know why I'm so bloated. It's not that I'm getting fat or something. Okay, let's get right into this. Let's say hypothetically that I'm broke, meat is so expensive, so I can only afford making around 50% of my caloric intake, which I'd fill the rest of the diet with. I don't believe you, because, at Aldi, for example, you can get 73/27 beef for $2 a pound. There's often sales on that. You can then also get the big rolls of beef, and it weighs out to around $3 a pound. And it's higher fat beef, which is actually good, because all of the slaves want the 97.3 ground beef, which is a horrible fat ratio. So the fattier cuts are normally cheaper. It's definitely, you can eat this way for less than $10 a day if you buy in bulk. I don't know. I think you're spending things on other. I don't think you're optimized. I think if you wanted to set aside $10 a day for meat, you could do it, because that's all you need for ground beef. Is there a way to treat acne scars at home, or are there medical treatments such as laser the only way? There's this thing called the sun, and it's essentially the most free and best red light therapy. The sun is mostly red light, and it does upregulate collagen and elastin synthesis. So you have the big sun out there. You can kind of just walk out your door and get a red light therapy treatment. There you are. You better not have seed oils, linoleic acid in your skin, though, if you are in the sun, or can't be on an antibiotic or Accutane, etc. Thoughts on a good diet but having acne? It is genetic predisposition to excreting toxins via your white blood cells through your skin. But what do you mean by a good diet? What's that mean? That's nonsense. What do you mean by a good diet? Now, if you said, I've been eating only beef and water for a year and I have acne, then I'd say, okay, then you have a real problem there. You probably have dairy in your diet. You could even have vegetables in your diet. I have no idea what your diet is. By the way, if you want to cure acne, just eat only meat and water. Beef has every nutrient you need. Even the muscle meat of beef has every nutrient you need, so don't worry about that. Just eat fatty beef and water. If you believe in your take on nutrition, why don't you go get blood work done and show us the results regarding your testosterone and nutrients? Even if Brian Johnson's diet is toxic, he does publish his blood work and all kinds of legitimate measurements to show it's legitimate, I assume. Yeah, so just because you take 60 supplements and you have them in your blood doesn't mean they can be utilized, but they'll still show up on tests. So tests aren't even a measure of health. But I'd absolutely take a test, as I eat beef, which has every nutrient. I eat beef liver, which has a ton of nutrition. So my nutrients will all be ideal. I eat a lot of raw meat, so I'm not decreasing things like vitamin C and B12 and so on. So yeah, of course, my nutrition will be completely optimal. My testosterone was like 900 last time I checked on this diet, so I could do that. Do you believe that eating a ketogenic diet seasonally is bad for heightened bone growth? No, it's better, actually. Your insulin blocks GH. Your GH and IGF-1 are going to be chronically high, actually. In the right area on a keto diet. Rehab room reaction win. That's like, I definitely should have responded to him. That was just one of those videos where I skimmed through it and it just didn't seem interesting to me. It's not like I'm dodging it on purpose. I can, I guess, do it if people want it. Is omega-3 and 6 disbalance the main reason for sunburn? Yes. It's linoleic acid, which is the omega-6 in seed oils being stored in your skin. How much of poor aesthetics is reversible post-development? For example, if you were raised on a terrible diet leading to bad skin, poor facial development, how much can you reverse fix going to your mid-late 20s with proper nutrition? You can fix the skin and the adiposity. You're not going to eat You're not going to eat a certain way and change your bones post-puberty. What shoes have good appeal? I don't know. I don't care about that. I wear Air Force Ones. They're cheap and they're my size. I have a size 15 shoe, so. Is there a benefit to sleeping 6 cycles? No, I don't care about all that. Just get enough sleep. Everything you need, you don't have to worry about specifics. I'm not going to break all of it down in this quick Q&A video. You don't need to worry about specifics because, again, you have the Inuit, the Maasai, and all of our ancestors who ate only meat and they thrived. So you don't need to worry about specifics on the diet. Like you don't need to, and there are explanations of everything. Like, vitamin C and glucose competing for the GLUT4 transporter explains why we need a lot less vitamin C when we only eat meat. There are things like that. You don't need to worry about it though. If one of two identical twins lives an optimal healthy lifestyle in puberty while the other lives a regular normal, not optimal, but unhealthy lifestyle, would you expect a massive difference? Optimal healthy lifestyle, other lives a normal, not optimal, but not unhealthy. I'd assume that the twin being optimal in my mind, right, is eating raw meat, blood, and some organs, maybe some butter, maybe some occasional milk, essentially optimal. And then the other one is eating like sandwiches and like maybe a Capri Sun and an apple, like the normal kind of like kid's lunch. Then I think the kid eating optimally will like look significantly better. Yeah, I do think so. Importance of facial kinetics / harmony and motion, very important. Yeah, masturbate if you want. No, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Its effects are overhyped by gurus or whatever, like people like Hamza and stuff. How much sodium should we consume daily? As much as in natural food. Don't need to count it. Should you use sunscreen when getting? No, I never use it. You may have to avoid the sun for a while if you're coming from a horrible diet because of the seed oils in your skin. But the oxidized linoleic acid, that's what the omega-6 is in every seed oil, even in olive oil. Hey, Face IQ, could it be that the downsides of carnivore diet only show up with age and people in the Stone Age didn't live long enough to experience them? No, because you have the Inuit who eat only raw meat, essentially, literally only raw meat. And they live in a very cold climate. And they live till their hundreds if they don't die as babies. So I wouldn't worry about that. What's your opinion on cold exposure? Yeah, there's that guy Excellent Health talking about how it's good. I wouldn't do it. But I mean, I suggest you move somewhere without winter anyway. But yeah, if you actually care about your health, tropics are better. What are the real ratios and measurements that actually matters in attractiveness if we put aside the nitpicking things, and how to better improve coloring and contrast for brown and light skin guys? So every ratio does matter. They're not all created equal for sure. I'd say the classics are eye spacing, extremely important, facial width height ratio, facial thirds, jaw width, jaw inclination, canthal tilt. There's a lot of things outside of just the harmony that are super important, like zygo mass and prominence. Everything is important, everything is just, the nose shape's important, the alar width is important. Everything's important, really. It all matters. And in terms of improving coloring for brown and light skin guys, you can get fake contacts, you can get stroma. It's going to make a good difference. It's going to make you literally look exotic. Like, I kind of highly suggest that. Other than that, what do you call it? You can get a tan, of course. Eat properly, get a tan. You can tint your hair a different color if you think it would look better. Getting stroma or contacts that look real would be the main thing. Sunlight for acne scars. If you don't count calories to lose fat or gain muscle, how do you ensure surplus or deficit? No human has ever been in a surplus or deficit of calories. No human has ever consumed a calorie. A calorie is a theoretical measurement of heat energy, referring to how much energy it takes to heat water by 1 degree Celsius in a closed thermodynamic system like a bomb collimator. okay? You eat food mass, you eat a steak, you're not eating calories. You're eating a steak. Calories are imaginary, they're in your head being applied to the steak. However, this measurement is flawed because there's a 40% margin of error of calories. They're ignoring your actual metabolic rate, which is ever changing. They're also ignoring hormones like insulin. And then also they're ignoring the applicable thing, whereas some foods make you full and some foods make you hungrier. Not all foods are going to affect leptin and ghrelin the same. So from a realistic weight loss approach, it's just disingenuous when people are like, oh, just go on a 1,700 calorie thing of eating, sugars. It's going to be very hard to even limit yourself to that anyway. You're going to be starving, literally, versus if you ate 1,700 calories of steak. Either way, the way you lose fat on a mixed macronutrient diet of both sugars and fats is you are in a food deficit, not a calorie deficit. And the way you would ensure that is if normally you eat a certain amount of food, you notice that's your maintenance of food, not calories, then you reduce that significantly. And it has to be significant. Now, if you want to lose weight without counting food and eating till you're full, then eat a ketogenic diet, high in fat or high in protein, if you really want to lose the weight. So if you eat a lot of meat that is very high protein or very high fat, and you don't make it a balance, you're going to lose weight even more rapidly. That's how you lose weight without starving. Wouldn't a genioplasty improve an obtuse frontal mandibular angle by bringing the chin forward? Yes, it can. It can do that. What to do if I'm constipated from consuming too little fiber? Raise the fat intake. Lower third and eye area, the age-old debate. If the eyebrows are in with the eye area, it has to be the eye area for sure. But jaw is very close behind. I'd say who cares, and I'd say you need to worry about maximizing both. Is gym bad for stunting growth, especially in teens? So yeah, here's the thing. When you work out at the gym, some of your testosterone is going for muscle recovery. And then, of course, after you work out, you do have a dip in testosterone and growth hormone below the baseline that you were at. The way I see the gym is I don't think it's going to improve your growth by any means. I think someone laying out in the sun, eating raw meat and organs, drinking raw colostrum, getting good sleep, I think that's who's going to grow the tallest. I don't think the gym is going to necessarily destroy your growth. A few times a week, high intensity, low endurance, but it's not going to help you grow. It's for sure. Lifting weights isn't going to magically add in nutrients into your body or something. That's going to, no, you grow from hormones and nutrition, and you get both hormones and nutrition from food, sunlight, and sleep. How do you usually give the score at the end of a face rating? Like 1 is 4, 1's 9 out of 10. I get about the features of the rating. What's the formula? It's my private formula. Do you think that cooked and raw meat are equivalent due to our adaptation to cooking meat? What adaptation has ever been proven? Because you look at the Maasai, you look at many tribes, you look at many cultures, they all actually have raw meat dishes. Like the Germans were eating raw pork, raw cheese during a special time in history. Ethiopian people eat raw meat. Japan, they eat raw seafood. They even eat some raw pork. Steak tartare. It's like the Inuit eat 100% raw meat. It's like people try to make it seem like raw meat is this ancient thing, even though it's literally been consistently happening up till about 100 years ago. Then pasteurization and all this cooking came. There's actually plenty of old camera footage, right when cameras were first invented, era, the 50 years after that. There's documentaries of people eating raw meat. There's video of people eating raw meat. We've always been eating a fair bit of raw meat, especially those who eat seafood. But now it's apparently the cavemen have been cooking for 800,000 years which is hilarious. Yeah, during the Ice Age, we were in the Ice Age for 2.6 million to 12,000 years ago, and we were starting a fire out in the Ice Age. We would never just eat the animal like every other animal does. No, it's very funny. And raw meat does have more nutrition, and raw meat has better protein absorption. The studies used to show cooked meat is better is normally on egg whites, which are an anti-nutrient. You shouldn't even be eating the whites anyway. Oh yeah, you destroy the avidin and the trypsin inhibitors in the egg white when cooking it, and then you absorb the protein better. Yeah, no shit. How about meat? Oh, cooked meat weighs less per pound, right? You take a pound of raw meat and you cook it. Now it's 4/5 of a pound, so it has more protein per gram. Yeah, because you cook the water out of it. Foolish. How does blue light affect your hormones? And if possible, how do you stop it? You wear glasses. You wear blue light glasses. And yes, blue light is aging. Yes, it affects your hormones. It affects your mitochondria. So, yeah, I'd recommend you wear the glasses. Does cooked meat have more nutritional bioavailability than raw meat? And did humans evolve from cooked meat? There's no evidence to suggest we actually even evolved. There's evidence we had fire. There's evidence some people cooked meat some places, but it's not like the Japanese and the Inuit and the Maasai and many, many tribes especially. They eat a lot of raw meat. They really kill an animal, they just dig in. It's not that important though, really. The cooked versus raw debate isn't that important in my opinion. I just suggest you do not cook your meat all well done, because then you will have 100% destruction of vitamin C in all of your food essentially. So I think that would be quite ill-advised. Yes, if you follow the rehab after leg lengthening and it's a top clinic, you can basically regain 99%. Again, you should really look into the people who have done it and ask them, not me. But that's from how I understand it. Like, you'll see people running and jumping and dancing around after it. If you're an athlete and you care about it, then wouldn't do it. When exactly is a rhinoplasty worth it? Make up a sentence with which you can decide yes or no within seconds. It sounds like a ChatGPT prompt. Sounds like you're giving me a ChatGPT prompt. Okay, make up a sentence so you can decide yes or no. When you look in the mirror, what is your initial impression of your nose? Good or bad? If bad, get rhinoplasty. If good, don't get rhinoplasty. If somewhere in between, set it as one of the later things you'll do. There you are. The cholesterol from a carnivore diet are often off the charts. How do I cope with it? That's so retarded. That's like saying, my job is giving me so much money, how do I cope with it? Cholesterol is an antioxidant. It's very essential. Why would you want any less of it? If you care about associative epidemiology, then people with more cholesterol are more likely to live long. And besides, dietary cholesterol versus serum cholesterol aren't even like 1-to-1 correlated anyway. But does intermittent fasting boost HGH in a way which will help in boosting height? So intermittent fasting, starving yourself, is actually imitating a ketogenic state, which is why if you go carnivore, your GH will go up, because you're not shoving the damn sugar down your neck, activating the Randle cycle, causing metabolic dysfunction. So instead of starving to imitate a carnivore diet, I want to eat carnivore. Do I believe in good and bad? I'm not religious, but I think as humans we have an understanding. Like if we see a man stabbing a woman or something, I think we see that and we have an intrinsic, like, that's not right kind of thing. So, and I don't think that's, some figures will say, oh, that's religious brainwashing. No, I think even as a kid, before I knew what religion was, I think we had this thing inside of us where like, okay, that's not right, or that's right. So I do believe in kind of a good and bad. I think in nature we would have to kill people though, obviously. I know you're right about the diet, but I mostly eat eggs and meat and I still can't quit fruits. So considering this, can you recommend what fruits are okay to eat and at what time? I recommend you eat fruit when it's sunny outside, when they'd be seasonal in your area. And I recommend you get outside when you eat them. And I recommend you are, like, if you're eating fruits, then you should be outside for like hours per day, and while you're eating them, and your feet should be on the ground for your mitochondrial function. It doesn't matter if it's summer, then you sit inside all day and you're eating fruit, then okay, this might as well be winter. You still can't quit fruits. That sounds like an addiction. I can't put down the cigs. I can't put down the alcohol. Sounds like an addiction. So why would you want specific fruits that feed the addiction instead of just actually putting your foot down and quitting? Because there's nothing essential in fruits. You get a lot of fructose, glucose, and vitamin C. The vitamin C competes with the glucose for the GLUT4 transporter. You don't really get much of it anyway. I don't get it. Why eat them? I live in a state where raw milk is illegal. How can I circumvent this law by finding a loophole? You can get raw milk and kefir for pets. You can also just order it online from like Amos Miller Farm or Frankie's Free Range Meats. Frankie's Free Range Meats has bad dairy in my opinion though. Should I stop using skincare products? Yeah, shampoo? Nah, I mean, I use shampoo. I also use egg yolks. Kind of depends. I don't think it's that important, but why don't you make a Discord server? I already have a school community that I keep up with. We do like calls in there and everything, so. Thoughts on bone smashing? It makes your face swell temporarily. It does that. Won't do much else. Hey man, really impressed with your knowledge about nutrition. I've learned a lot from your videos. My question is, what's your opinion on salt? I know that Agnes and most of the raw meat community is completely against it. I'd love to hear your take, given that mainstream health advice is also to limit salt intake. I don't think you need to add it to natural food, especially if you eat raw meat. There's all the sodium you need. I also don't think it's as bad as Agnes thinks it is. I don't think it's like healthy. I don't think salt's healthy. I think only cooked carnivores typically need the salt. If you eat raw meat, you would never want to put salt on it. So I would say avoid it, really. Can you break down why we feel better neurochemically when we eat raw foods as opposed to eating them cooked? I don't know. I actually don't know. But anyone who's gone a sufficient amount of time eating only raw food, animal foods, knows how good they feel. They know how euphoric they feel. I don't know why cooked doesn't deliver the same thing. I don't know why. It must just be the microbiome, the microbes. It's the only thing I can think of. Raw yogurt versus raw milk, which one's better? Better isn't a good question, because they're better for different things. Raw milk would be more androgenic. Raw yogurt would be less androgenic. They both have very similar nutrition. I tried carnivore for a few days. I had constipation, not much going to the bathroom. It's just a side effect of switching to a new diet. Yep, you need to transition over some weeks. Add in more and more meat. Raise the fat. You'll be good. Are Discord rating scales accurate? No idea. What do you find the best raw animal food for if you get anxiety? I'd agree with Agnes. I think raw cream, raw butter, like raw animal fat, is very calming for sure. You say phytic acid is bad, but isn't phytic acid anti-cancer? Yeah, toxins don't discriminate. They'll kill anything, kill any cells. Should I consider LL? I'm 5'5". I want to maybe get to 5'10". I have an MTN face, lean body. Yeah, I'd do it, honestly. At 5'5", I'd do LL. I mean, I'm 6'5". I'm going to do LL. No, I'm just trolling. You never know, though. Should I do exercise during my teenage years to grow and optimize my height potential? No. Sleep, nutrition, sun. Does your course have in-depth education on nutrition and how it works and why and which nutrients are important to the human body? I mean, here I can show you. This is basically what you get if you're interested. I just dropped a video going over what's the healthiest meat, comparing, salmon to eggs. Like, I add a lot of stuff in here. I have a video on raw versus cooked meat. The Randall cycle explained. Very, it's quite advanced. If you watch through my entire diet course in here, you'll definitely have a good enough grasp to where you'll understand it for yourself, like completely, and then you'll just know what to do. What do you think about Brian Johnson's diet? He's vegan but very healthy. Healthy by what regard? By what regard could you say that Brian Johnson's healthy? By what standard? Since fresh game meat is high in glycogen and eaten immediately, you're already wrong in your assertion. We'll get to that though. Usually drunk with the blood, couldn't that mean our ancestors weren't truly zero carb, but got small sugars from fresh meat, compared to today's meat, which is mostly depleted? Wouldn't adding some fruit and honey make sense to replicate the small sugars they naturally got? So here's the critical mistake. I'm sounding a bit arrogant, I'll just explain it. When a cow is eating its natural diet, which is only grass, it's in a ketogenic state, and it doesn't have muscles full of glycogen. It uses gluconeogenesis, which is demand driven, to send glucose to the muscles. So a freshly slaughtered cow that was eating only grass, properly raised, per pound of meat would have about 1 gram of sugar. So nothing ketosis disrupting, nothing irrelevant, nothing that would matter if the 1 gram of sugar is there or not. And yes, humans would have some carbohydrate in nature. The liver has a little bit more. You would need a lot of that though. That'd be it's a rare treat. You would eat some fruit seasonally if you found it in your area when it's sunny outside, and you would have some carbs there. Other than that, most of the year you would have maybe a few grams of carbs per day. So if you thought this was important, I guess you could do a quarter teaspoon of honey or something, and there you are. It wouldn't do anything, but you could do that. Now, animals that are fed a bunch of sugar, which are grains or sugar, then yeah, they may have more muscle glycogen. That's not natural though. The Game Changers documentary, dude, I watched this. I in my head I had debunks for everything they said, man. What a terrible documentary. How much does acne subtract in your face ring scale? It's in the features category, and it can be very significant. Can you be a child light with 0.24 ESR? Yes, you can. I wouldn't eat the raw egg whites. Why aren't you a Chad if you've been eating raw meat since you were very young? Since eating raw meat doesn't make you a Chad. Just helps you capitalize on your potential. Like, would I have a well-developed jaw at least? And would I be 6'5.5" if I only ate seeds? No. All right, I think I'm going to wrap it there. We got through a lot of questions. As always, if you want one-on-one access with me to help you answer questions like this, and if you want all my guides to Looksmaxx, the community, the coaching calls, we actually have a coaching call in 4 hours, for example. You can check out the Skool link down below. No pressure too, if you want. Definitely can help you out. If you need help maximizing your height, your looks, etc. in puberty and after puberty. So yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. Peace.